Hi, this is Mary from OpenHelix with this week's Tip of the Week. If you're seeing this tip someplace else, be sure to come back by our blog at blog.openhelix.com for additional details. We'll give you more information about the links that I'll be talking about today and access to the tools that I'll be describing. So today I wanted to focus on a tool that I learned about from the Wormbase team. So I've been following the Wormbase blog because I knew they were going to have a new release of their software, and that's terrific. You should go out and you should check out the new Wormbase interface. It's really nice. And we'll be updating our tutorial materials very soon to reflect that. But I was following their blog and I noticed another announcement that they had. They were talking about this OpenWorm browser to explore C. elegans in 3D. I was pretty intrigued by that, so I wanted to take a look. So I clicked on the link for OpenWorm browser, and what you get is a tool that lets you explore a worm. And you can do this in a number of different ways. So you can just use your mouse to move this worm around. You can use navigation buttons to adjust what you're seeing about this worm as well. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more just to give you a better, closer look at what we are going to be able to see. There are also ways to navigate around the worm at different levels of transparency and at different systems levels. So if there's a slider here on the left side that will let you, as you zoom down, check that out, you can start to see the transparency changing. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so you can get a better look. And I'll drag my worm around a little bit. So here you can start to see more details in this worm body. And if you use the slider to go down even more, you'll focus on different systems. Here we're focusing more on the digestive system, and you can look around at the worm and see that as well. You can focus on other systems as well. You can see there's other ways to look at the different details here on the slider. Another thing that you can do with this worm is you can adjust the sliders to accommodate different levels of transparency, like so you can more or less transparency, as well as different levels of this systems views here. So there's also other things you can do. Now we know where all of the cells are in C. elegans. We know what the developmental biology pattern is, and so there are specific cell names, and if I just wanted to look for one of the cells, for example, maybe I'm interested in the VC4, I could choose to look for VC4 and then I can pin that. And what that means is that I can, actually let me zoom in a little bit, we'll look for the VC4 pin that I just did. I can look specifically at that cell in the context of this worm. And I can zoom in enough, let me zoom in some more, to look specifically at that item. So here, now, in fact, let me zoom in more. I can get a good look at specifically that individual cell. There, isn't that cool? So I can zoom around, and now it's pinned, and I can go back to that later if I want to. I can explore this again. Now that we're zoomed in some more, let's try these different sliders to explore the different aspects. As I said before, more digestive system, less transparency, more transparency, and so there are some really neat things you can do to explore this. You can always go home and the worm goes back to this small size and you can start zooming around again. There's some help that you can get from the quick guide here, and you can read that later, but you can go back to the worm and you can start looking around. Now it's an early stage of this. There's no publication associated with this at this time. You can start looking around and trying it out, test it out, take this worm for a spin. Haha. But I can really imagine this being incredibly useful. I would love to see, for example, the mod encode data. You could layer like which transcription factors are turned on and which cells. You could look at the RNA-seq data levels. You could look at open chromatin, all kinds of things. Imagine all of that layered on these 3D views. And I think it would be really helpful for biologists to, not only have the text data available from these big data projects, but to visualize that on this kind of representation as well. Anyway, I think this is a really cool tool. I think you'll have some fun with it. Go and check out the 3D worm at the OpenWorm browser. Thanks very much for your time.